Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast right after Valentine's Day. And we are expanding our application here and our use of this program. We are going to have two guests today. Mike Ferreira, who's joining us. He and I worked together for over 10 years at Beneva. We have a long-standing friendship. We tried to put the numbers together and came up to almost 50 years of friendship. It's just amazing what we've done and we've made the test of time. And then we also like to welcome our special guest, Lisa. Lisa, how do you say your last name?
Duitsman.
Duitsman.
Mm-hmm.
Abbott's Flowers, another really long-standing, great operation in Champaign, Illinois. I've watched and known about Lisa for many years. One of our great users, because Lisa is known to ask the right questions, and everything she does, she tests, and really an innovator. And your business has done so well, and we've been enjoying watching it grow together. So welcome to the podcast. And today's call is going to be mostly about Valentine's Day. And you mentioned something to me. You know, Lisa, I always appreciate. Let's have you first. Mike, tell us about yourself. Let's have Lisa introduce herself. Again, we're still new at this. This is like my fourth podcast. Please bear with me. But Mike, would you please just introduce yourself and then we'll introduce our guest, Lisa?
Sure. Well, as Art mentioned, I've known Art for a long, long time, 50 years now. And back in the day, I worked for him in Beneva as an operations manager. And prior to working at Beneva, Art and I would have conversations, and I always noticed he was obsessed. He was obsessed with flowers. And I'd make a little fun of him. To tell the truth, I'd say, Art, it's just flowers. Like, what is the big deal? It's just flowers. Like, who cares about flowers? Now, forgive me. I've learned my lesson since, but that was my opinion. And then when I did come to work for him, and I learned the company culture, and I learned about the effect that flowers have on people's lives and relationships, that all changed for me. Then I finally got it. And then I went out of town for a while. I lived out of state, came back. I had a couple of businesses that did great because I've learned how to run businesses and operations by Art. And the time came that we started talking about Bloomerang. And I had similar thoughts in my head at first. I thought, it's just digital. Oh, he's making websites. He's doing SEO. What's the big deal? He's obsessed. But then as we talk more, I got it. It's the same thing. As I went from what's the big deal about flowers and what's the big deal about what he's doing digital until I saw the light. And I'm like, well, he is not doing the same things that other people are doing. He is taking it one step beyond. And back in the day at Beneva, the motto was exceeding your expectations, which was more than just a motto. It was a company culture. And that's carried on here at Bloomerang. It's the same thing. It's striving for excellence 100% of the time. So I couldn't be more proud to be here. And I've got to say, I normally would never admit this or say these words to Art because his head is going to balloon up and I'll never hear the end of it. But the word visionary is not too strong of a word. He's constantly looking at the next big thing and the next exciting way to bring his customers to the next level. So I am absolutely thrilled to be here on my first podcast with Art and really digging into take Bloomerang to the next level as well.
Thank you. Well, again, you've been a visionary with me, and you're good about keeping everything in order. So we make a good combination, I think, because I make the mess and you put everything where it belongs. And together, I think I'm excited about where we're going. I really love having you on the team, Mike. And we've had enough time and enough tug of wars to realize that we kind of need to be working today. It's a yin and a yang sort of experience, I think. So it's great having you here. And Lisa, you're very similar. I hope you felt yourself in a lot of these conversations that we just had. Me talking about myself, you know me, you know Mike now a little bit. Tell us about yourself and how you got into the business and about. I just know you so well. I assume everybody knows you. But Abbott's Flowers in Champaign, Illinois. Tell us all about it.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on today. I've been in the floral business for about 30 years, and over that period of time, I at one time I had three locations. Um, Thankfully, now I'm down to one, and it's much easier to manage. I agree with Mike when he used the term visionary. I totally agree. Um, I don't know how you fit all you do into 24 hours in a day. It is pretty amazing as much as you do for all the florists in the country. Um, our business now, like you said, we're located in Champaign, Illinois, which is central Illinois. So regarding Valentine's Day, we have to deal with a lot of weather issues. And so that's always a big deal for us. We were lucky this year, and it was just very cold, a little ice, little snow, but very manageable for us this year as far as weather goes.
Well, that's great. And again, that makes for a good Valentine's Day. But of course, you've got a story to tell, which we can't wait to hear about because the one I let me say this between what you guys are both saying, I really appreciate the compliments. But when I had a flower shop, I could implement all these ideas the next day. I basically snapped my fingers coming to work, and everybody's world just changed. You remember those days. Now we're
Yeah.
going this way instead of that way because I thought
Yeah.
something might work better. But you throw
Hmm.
enough stuff against the wall, something has to stick. I tell people all the time, I'm only 20% accurate. So I need to get the 80% of the mistakes out of the way as quickly as I can. But I still love the industry. However, Lisa, I'm depending on you and all of my clients to help me with my excitement, my being anxious, my testing things. And I got to say, Lisa, there's a benefit to being an A because your name always comes up first on our list. You're always getting all the extra time, attention, service, and as you deserve because you're so responsive with us. So you get the first dib at everything. And I got to say thank you, Lisa, for always taking chances with me. Many times I say to you, Lisa, I don't know where this is going to go, but would you just give it a shot? And you always buckle up. You go shotgun and off we go. And
Yeah,
it's been a really great ride as far as I'm concerned. And what's been your results? We've been together about 5 years now. So
we have.
overall, what has
Yeah.
your business done?
Yeah, it's been about 5 years. Well, it's been pretty amazing. Since I've been with you, we've doubled our annual sales volume. We've added on to our space. Our business physically has grown. Um, we're renting another space in our mall actually that we're using for classes now and overflow at holidays.
Right.
We did all of our dispatch of all of our deliveries come out of that new space now. And now, I don't know how we managed before, but when you increase the your sales volume that much, you've got extra to play with and invest in. And I've invested a lot with Bloomerang, and I see the results. So I thank you for that very much.
Well, again, thank you for counting on us to be in that investment with you. But I think one of the times that many times when you're a free thinker like me, entrepreneur, I could push people too hard, or I could be a little too out there, and people are a little more conservative. And I consider you to be conservative, but yet very, very articulate. And you are aggressive, but you're conservative too, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'll never forget when I had to tell you, and I'm not going to get into details, doesn't matter. You were going down a road that I didn't believe in, and you liked it. I
Yeah,
didn't like it. And you can't tell you, everyone says you can't tell your customers you don't like something if they're doing it. I was like, it's against everything you're supposed to do, but I like to consider us friends first, Lisa. And I think that's what makes everything different because I tell you honestly how I feel. You told me how you felt, and we tested it. We tried it.
yeah,
It didn't exactly come together. And you finally said, you know what? I get it. I see it. Let's move on. There was no personalities, who's right, who's wrong. It's all about being together, testing something. And I want to thank you for not kicking me to the curb because many people let their pride get in the way. Pride is a terrible thing to have in business because at the end of the day, we're always learning something new. So thank you for that. That told me so much about you. Made me feel comfortable asking you to ride with me when we're trying to do something new. And if I fail for the short term. We're going to win in the long term. You can't always be right.
exactly.
You can't always be right. And I tell my staff this all. I don't know if you've heard my newest statement, Mike, is don't be afraid to fail. Fail forward. If you're not failing, you're not pushing hard enough. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But you got to try to control it. If I could fail with me, but if I'm failing with your investment, that's I have a little shorter cord on that. But if I'm doing it on my own, fail forward. At least you're giving it all you have, because the industry is not what it is today, because tomorrow's a whole new world coming up. So that being said, Valentine's Day comes around. Here's what we're going to talk about today. The blunders of Valentine's Day, kicked off by yours truly, because I'll never forget, like, we always have that feeling 3 days into a holiday. Every owner feels, I think we got this. I think we got this down. We're going to have a great holiday. In your case, you had the weather, you had everything going for you. In our case,
Yeah.
we had weather. For us, a cold front is really good. We get down to 40 degrees, and it's a holiday. We're loading all those vans up in advance. We don't have to worry about coolers. Well, what happened was we were building it up. I'm going to start the conversation. You can end it, Mike. But we have a dispatcher, and then I came up with the system. I don't remember every detail of it, but it was a truck 100. So when a truck was loaded, we made it 100, which was loaded, and that means that truck was ready to go when the next person came in, because we never knew who was going to come in when. When the next person came in, they closed out their run. He took one of the loadeds, marked it, taken, and off he went. Here's the problem with that. Those arrangements showed out on delivery. So when people were calling us saying, "Where's my flowers?" They're out on delivery. When are you going to get here? Well, they've been out for a while now, so they're going to be there shortly. And everything was out on delivery. Oh my God. It didn't until Frank the mover placed his order for the first time, 14th year anniversary, February the 14th. Like 14 meant a big deal to this guy. And he was Frank the mover, big guy. And he was furious. They were waiting. They didn't go to dinner. They blew up dinner. He was lying to his wife, saying, "Please wait, please wait." And we kept telling the flowers are out on delivery. They're going to come to you. It didn't get there. Not only did it not get there, nothing ever happened. Blew his Valentine. I'll finish up this story, but I'm going to leave it at this right now. But the point was, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have the right data in your hands, you can't run your business well. That's why I don't understand these flower shops that don't use referral codes, that don't mark everything they can, track the phone calls, track the connections of that order. How did it get from A to B? So all that being said, it's so important because I screwed up my part of the holiday. Mike, what did it look like to you being in the dispatch area with all the employees and the drivers?
Well, it was absolutely horrible. And this was in the days before GPS would be in vans. So we did not have a reliable way to track where the flowers were. And we were trying this new idea. And we also, in our effort for excellence and exceeding your expectations, we probably, in retrospect, took a few more orders than would have been prudent to take. So we were really loaded up. It was going to be by far a record-setting Valentine's Day. And then as the day went on and everybody is sleep deprived to begin with, everything just felt like it was falling apart. And I wouldn't call it a downside, but the other side to having this company culture of exceeding your expectations and excellence and perfect customer service and never letting a customer down, it wasn't even so much about the potential revenue loss of having to do refunds or having to remake arrangements and having to make things right with the customers, but it was an emotional loss for all of us, from everyone, from the delivery drivers to the designers to the people on the phones. Everyone was on board with Art's vision and everyone was on board with the company culture. So when this terrible thing went wrong, we all felt it in our hearts and our guts. We all felt responsible. And it was really rough to get through that. It may sound corny, but it was an emotional roller coaster to get through for everyone there, because we had never felt before like we had let a mass of people down. So, but we learned from our mistakes. We retooled. By the next Valentine's went off without a hitch. at a higher volume than before, and we ended up being a better company for it in the long run. A stronger, better, more resilient company. So,
and I knew that would happen, but what I couldn't get past was all the people that we let down. I was beside myself because I don't want them to be a part of my success story because we failed them. So if I remember right, it was around 5 o'clock. I shut down the design center, shut the whole store down, and everybody took a van. And we all went out on the road. Remember, we were delivering until 9 o'clock. People were calling.
yep,
This guy hung up on me. This guy slammed the door in my
yep,
face. This person said never come back again. I'm like,
yep,
what have we done? And I tell this story
yep,
because I think everybody out there has a story. And Lisa, when you called me, and by the way, I should have said this also in the beginning, but we can dub this in, I guess. Lisa does not have her camera working, so we're using her photograph just to hold, as a placeholder. But that's Lisa from Abbott's Florist. I have to just say that. Okay, so
You know,
so when all this
your
was
story
happening,
sounds very similar to what happened to us this
well,
year.
that's why when you
Um,
told
we,
me, when you said everything was going great, then the bottom fell out, you right away the light bulb went off. I said, I want to do a story with you, Lisa. So that was our biggest blunder ever. Let's move that over to you now. Tell us about what happened at your store.
well, the feelings that I was experiencing sounds very much like what you guys were talking about. We all felt it. We thought the beginning of the day, was going great. We're doing so well, and we started falling behind on deliveries. Probably took a few too many, like you said, Mike. Um, some of our routing issues were that our temporary drivers that we were using, some of them were slower than we'd had in the past. And, that's hard to account for because you don't know. They're new. And so that slowed us down. And it kind of snowballed. And once you get behind, we couldn't catch up. We did disappoint some customers, some things, to businesses, which we always try to get out first thing, didn't happen. Some people had left for the day, and then and we had the same situation you mentioned, Art, where it showed up in our system that they were on the truck. And so, people on the phones would relay that to the customer. It's on the truck. So knowing that it should be there soon, that sort of thing. Well, and this year people started calling it like 11 o'clock in the morning. Where's my deliveries? And I was like, you got to be kidding me. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. But people were really less patient this year for some reason. But we fell behind. And at one point we had several clerks in their cars, running deliveries at the end of the day. And we got most of them out. We didn't get them all out. So we did have some upset customers, and we all felt, I think we all felt terrible. I know I felt terrible. Because that's not usually the way things go for us. Usually, at the end of the day, we're kind of celebrating in a celebratory mood, and not this year, man. I was down. I didn't even want to talk about it with my husband all weekend. When I called Art, I think we talked on Monday, and I think I was still in that same mindset. But Monday, I did have to do some refunds, and I got emails back from people saying how grateful they were that I handled it so quickly and so professionally, and that they would use us again. So I think
That's all you want to hear.
that made me feel a lot better. I
Right.
think when you can recover with the customer, I think they'll remember that more than they will that the delivery was late. I the most I refunded to a customer was like $125, $130. Some people just wanted a refund on their delivery fee. So, now with some time between, Valentine's Day and today, when I've had to think about it could have been a lot worse. We will survive, and we'll do better next time.
yep,
Well, that's great. That's a great story. We've never had a moment where we could sit back and say everything went off well. It was always coming in. Like Valentine's Day, we couldn't take an order, Lisa. We took all of our orders until the 13th. Then on the 14th, we unfortunately busied our phones because we wanted people to come in. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. The demand was so high that we couldn't pick up phone calls. And you know what half the calls were? Can you tell me where my flowers are? Are my flowers going to get there soon?
Yes.
My wife's leaving work early. It's like, how do you handle that call? I mean, we understand it right now, but anybody on the outside listening to this might not understand the volume. I mean, you're doing for us. We do 150 deliveries a day. Valentine's Day comes around, and I'm trying to hold it back at 800. How do you handle that? And then, then again, people could say, well, don't be greedy. It's not about being greedy. It's about everybody has their florist and they need flowers 2 or 3 times a year, and we can handle that. But when they all have to order on the same day, that's why I told the whole world, Lisa, take all your deliveries for the 12th and maybe at least the 13th. At least your Valentine's has her flowers on the 14th all day long. Because if your flowers get there at 3 o'clock, it's still considered a on-time delivery. But why does your Valentine have to give up 6 hours, 5 hours of the day before, during that day? Why do they have to lose 5 hours when they could have just got the flowers delivered Thursday afternoon? You enjoy them the whole day. It was so hard to get people to understand that because everybody's in a block. It's like Valentine's Day. I got to have it on Valentine's Day. I promise you, if 1 out of 10 customers say they have to have it on Valentine's Day, that's all it really is. 1 out of 10 might say they have to have it then. But, how bad is it going to be a little early? So that's what happens. Let me finish the story about Frank. Frank was a big burly guy, and they don't really go to fancy restaurants. Well, they had reservations at a restaurant here called Cafe Europe in Sarasota. They lost their reservation. They sat at home arguing, and let me tell you, she was dropping F-bombs on me left and right. He was dropping. He was mad. And then I find out by the end of the night, he still doesn't have those roses because they were out in one of the trucks. And I explained to him what happened. Next morning, he's coming in. He wants a refund, and he wants to see me. Nobody else but me. He walks up to the front counter, and my staff's like, all right, you're on your own, because he doesn't want anybody else but you. What do? I faced him. I apologized, told him what happened. What can I do for you? At this point, to any florist that's out there, if you've made a bad mistake, it doesn't matter what the resolution is, because it's one transaction in the course of the rest of the year. Is it really going to be something you're going to ever be able to feel down the road? Even if you gave him $1,000, can you not make that work by the end of the year? I mean, it's not. You're not going to remember this transaction a week from now, never mind a year from now. That's what you should ask yourself. Am I going to remember this transaction in a month? Probably not. So he's mad. I gave him his money back. What do you think he's thinking when he leaves the door? I'm never coming here again. I heard a story. Fine. They got too big. Every bad thing in the world. But I heard him say on the way out, we're just going to we're going to Orlando because I want to buy him dinner in Sarasota. Well, we're not going to be in Sarasota. We're going to Orlando, go to Emeralds. That's it. I didn't know what Emeralds was back then. So what's an Emerald? Who's Emerald Lagasse? Yeah, they said. I said, does he have a restaurant in Orlando? They said yes. Well, I called Orlando. Now, you can all think what you want to think, what you would do in this situation, but here's what I did. I got a hold of the maitre d' there, and I checked to see if these people had a reservation. Not only did they say they did, I asked them what time they're coming in and so forth. I contacted my friend at a flower shop in Orlando, and I said, turn it on. I want to see that table explode. Put an elevated arrangement, put some small arrangements on the table. I want you to really make it beautiful. And I didn't give them a budget, just make it. I ended up spending $500. It was a beautiful tablescape and all kinds of stuff. What I got back was they got there, and again, burly guy, kind of, and his wife said it brought him to tears. And they said this to me, that we are truck drivers, we're movers, we're not used to being treated like that. We were treated in a way I only see in the movies. I touched this guy like never before. After this occurrence, every holiday, he come driving across 11 miles across town with his coupon. Hey, Art, got my coupon. Want to sell my mother flowers? Now he's a flower sender. His wife said, you've made a customer out of him. He's always looking to send flowers to somebody. Well, now it's been 15 years since I've seen him. Mike, was that you I was walking down the road with in Sarasota when we saw him?
Yeah, we were downtown. We were downtown one evening. Yeah.
He's driving a golf cart, driving people up and down. And when he saw me, he about jumped out of his skin. And Mike's like, what the heck? And this guy, Artie! And he's hugging me, and he's telling everyone the story about the roses and how we missed it. We are in a great industry, and this is what drives me. This is why I'm so crazy about what we do. It's not just a delivery. It's a relationship. I'm not for everybody. I'm for the people that want to be their best. When I made that website, I sold it to 100 of the best florists in the country, people that were dedicated. They're all coughing up $40,000. They're serious about what they're doing, but 20 years later, they're still using their application. These are the best of the best. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the level of energy I have. They're just, it's like you, Lisa, and now the Tele4 websites back in the day were not what they are today. Today, this website is the equal of what I did. They weren't available back then. So now we've got people like yourself and a few others that are just exploding in sales, growing their business, but we don't do things like everyone else does. While everyone else is saying, well, that's dumb, that's stupid, I wouldn't do that. I say to them, okay, what would you do? What would you do? Tell me what you would do that's so much better. Something great doesn't come for free, let's face it. But we want to all question everything because it's so expensive. It's expensive for a reason. So I just wanted to share that. It was just a story that I kept with me my whole life, and I always remember Valentine's Day. He always remembers Valentine's Day. But there's so many flower shops out there, Lisa, that don't even want to talk about a bad Valentine's Day. They don't want to talk about their mistakes. And then if I bring it up, they want to be defensive. It's like, let it go. You're a florist. If you're a florist, that means you have failed. You have screwed up a holiday. And because of that, you're probably a better florist today than ever before. I think it helped me. Do you agree that it helped you as far as being a better florist too, Lisa?
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to hear your story, and I thank you for sharing it with us. It's a great industry that we're in. Nobody's really, nobody puts any pressure on us more than being timely, being prompt, and have your flowers last as long as they can. I tell my staff all the time, more flowers doesn't make it better. The flowers are beautiful to begin with. Make a creative design, get it in the door. I think I'm going to close with this, Lisa. I'd like you to make a closing statement too, but I think that the flower industry right now can be the greatest because we have so much access to beautiful flowers, but we got to go back to designer's choice going out of town. If I'm sending a hydrangea in Sarasota, I'm not doing my customer. I'm not doing them right by allowing them to buy a hydrangea because it's never going to last. If you were sending it in Champaign, it's a proper arrangement. It's not for the area. Only the local florist knows what's best in their area. And for that, we should make it designer's choice. Let the florist choose what's best in their area and make you a beautiful bouquet to the amount that you want and even more, because the florist loves not to be contained. And the best part of it, you're going to have it be different than any other arrangement. I always say this, designer's choice, no two arrangements will ever be the same. That's what I think the industry needs. And I hope we get more support from people watching this that will also support the fact that we don't need to give up on the wire out. Don't give your customer to somebody else. Take their order, give the florist flexibility, $75 minimum order. And then if they want something custom, it's $100 or it's $150. You're not going to get complaints anymore. And we can save the industry by doing this. What do you think, Lisa?
I agree completely on the designer's choice. We only did designer's choice on wire outs for the week, for Valentine's Day, for the 13th and 14th. And we just set a $100 minimum and designer's choice. And we had no complaints. Everything went through. We weren't being rejected like usual. Saved a lot of time. And I just thought to myself, I wish everybody sending us flower orders would say the same, would do the same thing for us. But it did make our life easier, and apparently happy customers, because if you're spending $100, you should get a nice arrangement pretty much anywhere, especially if it's designer's choice. So that is for sure the way to go.
I think it's going to save the wire out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had Teleflora produces, the books that years ago we would haul out the book and let people look through the pages and the pictures, and it was a nightmare. And we don't use them at all. There's no point. There's no point in a customer picking out something super specific and then us trying to get it wired out. This way, everybody's happy and they get the best flowers, the best quality, and whatever's in season. That's what I would want to send.
The nicest seasonal bouquet. Everything after that, I call it the wishful thinking bouquet. So, Well,
The audio is getting worse for me, Art. I apologize.
Okay, I don't want to take up
I'm not
more of your
hearing you
time. I
very
don't know
well
why
right
I'm having a
now.
problem with my audio. I'm sorry about that. But Lisa, I'm going to wrap it up and say thank you so much for being on the call with us, Lisa, from Abbott's Flowers and Abbott's Flowers or Abbott's Florist, right? Abbott's Flowers?
Florist.
Abbott's
Abbott's
Florist in
Florist.
Champaign, Illinois. A great retailer, and we hope to speak to you again soon on one of these calls. Lisa, you did a great job. Mike, thanks for being on as always, and we'll wrap it up with that.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.